So welcome everyone to Food Science 468 Functional Food class. I am very pleased to have Dr. Danik Martirosyan with me today for a guest lecture. I am very thankful to him for accepting my request kindly to be a guest lecturer in the class. And just to give you some perspective, Dr. Martirosyan, we have students here from culinary and food science, and they are directly involved in product development for many clients around the Philadelphia and also outside the Philadelphia. So they are very much intensely involved in food product development. So I think it would be a great opportunity for our students to learn directly from you how to develop a functional food product and how is it different from the other how they develop the as a culinary background like a normally food product. So I would encourage my students to ask as many questions as they can because I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it would be really beneficial for all of you because you are involved in food product development and you will learn quite a lot. With this, now I would like to formally introduce our speaker of the day. Dr. Danik Martirosyan is a founder of Functional Food Center in Dallas, Texas. He has over 30 years of experience in research and in researching non-traditional plants, and he has created more than 60 functional food and healthy food products. He has successfully formulated and tested the efficacy of the multiple components or functional components in the animal model system and also in the clinical studies. He's also the author of the new functional food definition. Dr. Martirosyan has focused his research on red amaranth, that is Amaranthus cruentus, and Rosa canina. Rosa canina is a wild species of rose, to see that their effect on different chronic diseases. You may have noticed that Dr. Martirosyan has authored more than 11 textbooks, and actually one of his textbooks is a recommended textbook in our class, Volume 1, Introduction to Functional Food Science. He also chaired more than 30 conferences. He authored more than 30 conferences books and more than 100 articles, scientific articles. He has actually organized international functional food conferences many times, and thanks to his wide network and global presence, he has a good network of scientists and medical doctors and practitioners. He's the founder of Academic Society for Functional Foods and Bioactive Compounds. He's also editor-in-chief of journal Functional Foods in Health and Disease, Bioactive Compounds in Health and Disease, and Functional Food Science. So with this, I would like to say welcome to Dr. Martirosyan to Drexel, and we are looking forward for your presentation today. So with this, I request you that you can start by now. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Dr. Sharma, for great introduction, and I am proud to have a lecture for your students and staff. Yeah, especially this group with functional food for a healthy food product development. So this could be very important for them. So I'm gonna share my screen here and start my presentation. So let me see if I can make it bigger. Okay, so let's go to the beginning. Okay, so today presentation topic is demonstrated dosage and time in the consumption of bioactive compounds, quantum and Tempus theory of functional food science. So in my presentation, I would speak about the summaries and goals of presentation. Secondly, we will speak about bioactive compounds, description of bioactive compounds, and discussion of dosage. Then we will speak about quantum theory, application of quantum theory in food science. Then Tempus theory, which is application of Tempus theory in food science, related how long we have to consume bioactive compounds or functional food. And then we will go to the conclusion. So here is introduction. I would like to tell you that main goal of my presentation will be the importance of bioactive compound dosage in functional food products. So when we create in a functional food, so what should be a dosage of bioactive compounds? So certainly bioactive compounds are the backbone of functional food. So then it is important to know what dosage bioactive compound gonna be effective. So we will speak about the establishment of appropriate dosage of bioactive compound using quantum theory of food science, and exhibit how time and influence the how time can influence the effectiveness of bioactive compound using the Tempus theory of functional food. Tempus theory was recently added. Quantum theory we had a little earlier, around a year ago. Tempus, which is more speaking about how long we have to consume functional food or a bioactive compound. So that's was recently added, and we published 2 articles in this regard, and we published both articles in Functional Food Science Journal. So first, I would like to provide you a definition of functional food that functional food science has, and we come up to the functional food definition several years ago. I think it was 2011 when first time we spoke about this at Texas Women's University. At the time, I was working in there, and also we had the international conference. So that, as I remember, first time we start working on that. It is changed a little bit, and time to time, several times we did some improvement. And nowadays, so this is how it look like definition. So Functional Food Center defines functional food as natural or processed foods that contain biologically active compounds, which in defined, effective, non-toxic amounts provide a clinically proven and documented health benefit, utilizing specific biomarkers to promote optimal health and reduce the risk of chronic viral diseases and manage their symptoms. So from this definition, you can see how important is bioactive compound. Without bioactive compound knowledge, or without bioactive compound, so we can't simply build functional food product. So when you would like, when you're starting to think about even how you're going to build, how you're going to create functional food. So first we have to think about which bioactive compound or a bioactive ingredient you're going to use to make it, because bioactive compounds is the one who which bring in a health benefit. And for that reason, so in our definition, you can see that we would like to find first in a natural or a processed food. So then we would like to see which amount should be, which could be effective, but non-toxic amount. And then we have to prove that not only in preclinical studies, that dosage of bioactive compounds, then we have to do that in clinical studies by using biomarkers, and even more. Now we're speaking about more about epidemiological studies that we have to in bigger studies when involve more than 1,000 people in open access society, but not only in a hospital within clinical trial. We have to show how that works. And certainly functional food then could be used for prevention or management of diseases, but and also it is even more nowadays we're thinking about that functional foods could be used to manage disease symptoms, because it's very difficult really to create one functional food product which is going to taking care of a whole disease, and disease could be developed within 10, 15, 20 years. So certainly it is very difficult to come up with one ideal functional food product which is going to taking care of a whole disease. But certainly we can create a functional food which could manage only some symptoms. So this is meaning that might be, for example, if you have some diseases like diabetes, which are having lots of them parameters, lots of symptoms. So then we may come up with several functional food products, but not one. So to do that, first we have to standardize all steps. How are we going to create that? How are we going to develop functional food? That's one of the cornerstones that we bring into the knowledge of not only students and professors, but also to the governmental agencies, so they know how we should create and how we have to evaluate, and also how we have to classify different kind of functional food products. So we standardize steps at Functional Food Center, and we have lots of information about that. And this is also from years to years, we improve this system, and now we come up to the 17 points. So it's really lots of different steps. Even I don't know if I could spend so much time to list all of them, but at least I would say that today we're going to speak mostly about point 3 and point 4. So point 3 establish the appropriate dosage of bioactive compound, and 4 is establish the appropriate time of consumption of bioactive compound. So if you allow me, I can spend a couple minutes simply go through, since you as a group which development. So maybe you can see, and later on, maybe we can have some other time that we can speak, or you can see this in our probably textbook. We have all about this, and also we have some published article in our journals. So first step was establish a goal of functional food product. So what is the goal? Why we create a particular functional food product? So then determine relevant bioactive compound. So we have to find out bioactive compound which works in this case. So then, like I already said, establish the appropriate dosage. Then establish time for consumption of that bioactive compounds. Then number 5 determines the specific pathways and mechanism of action. So this is extremely important actually. Nowadays, I think in Japan also it's kind of a rule with for shoe product. We know that Japan is the most important country which in governmental level they look into it and approving if manufacturers really come up with real functional food product. So they also asking for the mechanism of action, because without mechanism of action it's going to be difficult to understand if you are in right way, if you figure out which bioactive compound and how they works, kind of stuff. So then we need to have biomarkers. We have to have a sensitive and relevant biomarkers so we can see how effective is a bioactive compound or functional food at the end. So then we have to choose, as we shows by biomarkers, that we have effective bioactive compounds. So then we have to come up with appropriate food vehicles for bioactive compound. More likely you already know about that, but in other words, simplifying food vehicle is important because we have for example, we have a molecular level. We defined how much bioactive compound we have to have, but where are we going to put? So it should be some particular food, like you're going to put in bread, you're going to put in milk, you're going to create some new food. So where you're going to put that formulation that you come up. So that meaning you find the correct food vehicle. So then we provide preclinical studies on efficacy and safety. Yes, efficacy and safety we may speak a little later also. So this is one of the most important things, especially FDA gonna asking all of us if this product is safe and not only effective, but if it's safe. So 9 provide clinical trial for dosage, time, consumption, efficacy, and safety. And then 10 create special label. So this is very important to know that functional food product have to have a special label. It is not a regular food because, you know, as it's saying, bioactive compounds. So bioactive compounds could be if you use too much, it could be not useful. Even more, it could be, it can be become to the level when it is harmful. So for that reason, we have to have a special label where we say, here's the dosage you can use, here's the time you can consume, how long you're gonna consume that. And also, I think we're gonna need to put in that label about the effective bioactive compound. Okay, so then certainly we need to publish our study because, you know, without publication, how we know that scientists come up to the right formulation. So it should be peer-reviewed, published in peer-review journals, and even better if that's going to be reported in some international conferences. So as a scientist, going to be aware about that. So then educate general public, yeah. This is very important because without education of public, how public gonna know about your food? How they have to use that new functional food product? So then this is something we come up recently. So if you would like to be that in United States gonna be approved product like nowadays in Japan. So we have to send information to credible governmental agencies such as the FDA for approval, maybe USDA also could be involved. We don't know yet. And then official establishment of the credible functional food product, and then release functional food product to the market. So after all this, if it approves, so we're gonna come up with what kind of functional food we have. So one basic functional food gonna be level C. So release the functional food product to the market. So this is gonna be level C that we done everything before step 14, but without epidemiological studies and aftermarket study. So since we mentioned that it's very important to have epidemiological studies also, so I think one of these steps, yes, step 16 is after as people starting consuming, as we market, as we starting selling our products. So within 1-2 years, we have to then provide not only aftermarket studies, but also epidemiological studies. So if you provided already epidemiological studies, so then product could move to the level B. And finally, best level if it's done everything plus aftermarket research. So we will move to the next step. So next step gonna be going deep a little bit with quantum and Tempus theories of functional food science. So quantum theory pretty much about dosage, how we're gonna particularly finding dosage which is becoming effective. So we will find the appropriate dosage for bioactive compound, which should be established to ensure safety and efficacy of the functional food product. And this is the suitable functional food proposed process of regulation of functional food, as I already told. So high level of bioactive compound can lead to the toxicity. And for that reason, yeah, later on we're gonna speak a little bit more about how this theory gonna help for toxicity research, and can be accomplished by giving the recommended daily value or daily intake. So this, as I told, we have published 2 articles about this. No reason to stay more. So dosage of bioactive compound we mostly doing in preclinical studies. In preclinical studies, you know, they are small sample and providing information on appropriate dosage of compound and possible side effect and toxicity. This is what we finding out in preclinical. We can use in vitro studies also and in vivo studies in animal model. So then with clinical studies, this is pretty much similar with drug. So we will in 4th step we will conform dosage that if that works for animals. So how it works for people, because you know it's certainly not very easy at this point, because it's not very transformation. It's not like if mice is a certain amount of grams, so then you're gonna multiply for people and it's gonna be absolutely work same way. No, it is not, and that's why many investigations where researchers finding great information which is occurring in animals, but then it is not working for people. Anyway, so in clinical study, we're gonna also see how that work on patient, and we're gonna find out safety and efficacy issues, if it's safe and it works, and then we will see if there is a side effect. Yeah, so if it work, but if it has side effect, and finally we're gonna find out if it works good, but it's not having any adverse reaction. So that's going to be in most clinical study what we should do. So going to the quantum theory, as you may remember, I don't know if you know all, but at least several of you know that from quantum theory, it's something coming from physics. And what's that meaning? That it is mostly about the critical mass of atom can determine occurrence of chain reaction. So when it starts in the chain reaction. So there is 3 situations where we have amount of atom which is less than critical mass. So then chain reaction event will not start. And when we have a amount of atom equal to critical mass, so chain reaction event will occur, but it's going to be very slow. And then third option, when we have amount of atom, critical mass, chain reaction event will occur and at fast level. So the quantum theory of functional food science then described a critical amount of bioactive compound within functional food that occurs or a case chain reaction event and to lead to health benefit when consumed. So pretty much we would like to see similar things here when we have, if we have enough bioactive compound which start in work or not. Simplifying this, for example, we know that vitamin C is one of the very important bioactive compound. And we know that for daily value for recommendation dosage for women, it's around 70, 80, I think 80 milligram per day. And for men is like 100 milligram. And if you have very small amount of vitamin C, so then we're going to have some difficulty, some disease going to be in development. If you have regular amount, so that's fine. But when we would like to create some functional food or a healthy food, let's say, so then you have to use more dosage of vitamin C. And in functional food science, and more likely in food science also, so we say therapeutic dosage. So that's meaning in the case of vitamin C, that when we start using like 200 milligram, 300 milligram vitamin C and more, we can see some other health benefit. So that's what we can compare with chain reaction in quantum theory physics. So it's starting work much better. But in this case, in biology, in functional food, so we should know that it's extremely important that we do not go in over the limitation. So what does that limitation? More likely, you know, better than even myself. So upper dosage we have to know always, and that as I know, USDA is the one who provide in the upper level those you know, important ingredients that we should use or should not use more than that. In the case of vitamin C, that's 2,000 milligram of vitamin C per day. So if we use more than 2,000 milligram per day vitamin C and continuously, so that may create problems. Yeah, and I know that there is some even clinics, they do not know about that. I know one research institution, so who using mega doses of vitamin C, like 10,000, 20,000 vitamin C to treat some cancer. But certainly that's something they have to first speak with FDA if they allow, even if it's 20,000 milligram vitamin C is effective, but they have to know if it's allowed to use that much. So then here we would like to see in example. So we used within 2 years we used squalene. We used for diabetic people, and we had already published many articles. I think now soon going to be published 6 articles. So how squalene affecting on different parameters of diabetes people. So here I would like to simply show that we had 5 different groups. So we had the healthy subjects, 30 people, and then we had the diabetes people with who did not consuming any squalene. And then we had 3 groups. So one group was consuming 200 milligram per day, another one 400, and another one 600 milligram per day. And it is more complicated, this experiment, because we use up to 84 days. Why 84 days? Because you may know that it is very important that consumption should be 12 weeks or so. So we know what's happening, especially if when we have a functional food. So someone could use much longer than even we recommend. So we have to know what's happening. And also we have to find the best option, what is the best that consumer will use that particular product made from bioactive compound, in this case, squalene. So here is, in this image, you can see that we were measuring proteinuria level in diabetes people, and we use 200 milligrams. So it starts in beginning, it's not working, or it starting working from 28 days, and it's getting a better up to 84 days. But you can see that compared to the other dosage, 400 milligram and 600 milligram, so 200 milligram wasn't working very good, very good. So for that reason, it's extremely important to find exact dosage that's gonna work at this point better. So we can see that at this point, best value was from the dosage of 600 milligram, the highest level, and day was 84 days. And even more, I would say, from this experimental data also, we can see that actually we have to continue this experiment, because we can see that it's still improving a proteinuria situation. So it is better to see what we can do. So maybe at this point, because it's difficult that someone gonna consume more than 84 days, maybe we have to get more dosage if that's appropriate. And that way, in our new experiments, which we now are focusing on cardiovascular disease related people, we're using now 900 milligram or also dosage to see if that works better. So in this case, so we will like to say that quantitative can be useful in functional food science for the several points. So determines the critical amount of bioactive compound at which steady fusion occurs, and can establish the dose at which it can create effects on biomarkers of disease, therefore promoting health. And this can ensure that consumers are eating enough functional food, and that not only does understanding the critical amount ensure that a product is effective, but also that is safe. So also always remember about safety. This is very important. Otherwise, so we can be in a very dangerous situation when we provide some of these thinking that we provided very healthy food, but at the end that may have some dangerous effect. So continuing here, so we can, quantum theory can be useful in functional food science for the determining critical amount. It looks like it's pretty similar what I already said, so, but not negative impact into health. And yeah, I think, yeah, we already spoke about toxicity. So it's simply, here is a little bit in more detail and about observed adverse effect, and which is even more dangerous. So here in this table, we would like to say that it is very important dosage. So we have to find out dosage. I mean, not dosage, but dosage and time together. So you can see that we can have, for example, 56-day using for 200 milligram, and this is going to be equal, same 11,200 milligram of squalene if we using 28 days, but 400 milligram. So we can see that pretty much in this case, we having a very very similar numbers. So it is, of course, we would like to say that very important dosage that we have to come up. And then it is using both time and dosage. So this could be especially helpful when we're dealing with, patients, especially. So this could be very good help to medical doctors. So they're going to be defining which course to use. They may use, for example, small amount of squalene, 200 milligram only, but longer time, or if needed, depending which parameter or how quickly they have to fix a situation. So then they can use much higher dosage, and then by short time. So this is what we already started speaking about, Tempus theory, about timing. So yeah, so we saying here that quantum theory of functional food science does not take time in account, but Tempus, which is pretty much meaning timing. So time can influence the effectiveness of bioactive compound, as we mentioned, by the amount of time it takes for it to be effective and how long this effect lasts. So this is what pretty much about Tempus theory. And same way, yeah, we now going with the time manner, and yeah, we coming to the decision that in this case, for example, squalene, so it was much more effective, the last one. So for most available dosage 600 and the longest time. But again, that's something that medical doctors should use. For example, here you can see that 400 milligram within 56 days already have pretty good effect. So maybe then depending on situation of a person, so they can use this scheme with 400 milligram for 56 days, because certainly medical doctors, especially, they don't want to have so long time providing person something, because as much time you're going to use, so there's more possibility that you may have some side effect. So here is a very, very important chart, which is showing how time works. So you can see that in this case, where we measured immunoglobulin A, value of immunoglobulin A, it is not very effective for 28 days. But then from 28 to 56 days, you can see how effectively it works. And then after 56, it's not working much. So simply dosage works depending which dosage you're using. You can see that yellow one, which is diabetic patients with 600 milligrams. So this one has the best effect. But after 56 days, so it is not adding anything. So no reason to use more than 56 days. So at this point, so patient can have only 56 a day. And certainly when we're speaking about patient, so those people who are going to work with simply food for regular people, so this also could be recommended that they can use this product for 56 days. Yeah, and if they would like to use more, so certainly they may stop for a couple of months and then coming back and using again. That's going to be a recommendation. So similar thing here for HDL. So you know that lots of different kind of cholesterol existing, and especially HDL. HDL is very important and positive and good, as we say, for regular people, like a good cholesterol. So you can see that for diabetes people, so we have a low level of HDL, but then by using squalene, so we can see that it is increasing. But if it's 200 is very slow, very, very slow, you have to use long time. But for squalene, I think this is 600, so it's sharply increasing from 28 to 56 days, so that's very effective. Yeah, this is similar chart, but related to superoxide dismutase, which is effective antioxidant. I would say that here, this quantum theory can help us that quantum and tempus theory. I mean, it could help us to determine that actually even we have a good effect here, but this is unclear. So because we can see that it is still, so here is control. So we have a long way go to the, healthy people. So it is better probably using higher dosage of squalene and see. But also we have to know if we are allowed to use squalene. Squalene, I know that from literature, it is okay to use 1,000 or maybe a couple thousand milligram also per day. So there is that kind of investigation, but still we have to be a little bit careful by using, because squalene is something which is in the chain of cholesterol. So at some point it may affect on cholesterol, total cholesterol level. So we have to be very careful. So this ATP is very important also. I'm very sorry I'm providing so much information. So this is something very important, because people who have diabetes, you can maybe heard that someone, they don't have enough energy. So that's why, because ATP level look like for people who have a diabetes, it is very low. So you can see this red one. This is diabetic control without squalene, and this is healthy people. So you can see that healthy people have this kind of ATP level, and diabetic people have this level, so much lower. And as we provide in a squalene, so we can see that it is improving a level of energy. But again, it works best from 28 to 56 days. So this is what we can conclude from here. Yeah, and it's here also telling about that. Okay. Yeah, later on, actually, we find out that calcium is the one which is involved in Krebs cycle. Where, as you know, ATP is coming up from Krebs cycle. And so calcium is important. And there's going to be actually articles that we will publish probably soon. So then, yes, along as we can do some conclusions very soon, I think. And so in this slide, what it says that time is important aspect in determining the effectiveness of bioactive compound and should be implicated. So then in this slide, so you can simply see that you have if you're using a longer time, so then it is going to be enough smaller amount. And if in some time we need to fix situation much earlier, so it is better to use higher amount. Yeah, and certainly we have to continue our experiments to see which other amount going to be more beneficial. So here is my conclusion. I hope you still are able to see conclusion, and so this is most important thing that we have to take. So number one conclusion is that finding the appropriate dosage and time of consumption of bioactive compound is an important step in the process of development of functional food products. So clinical research in quantum science or functional food science can be used to help determine the dosage that provides most positive effects. So future studies should consider the quantum theory and Tempus theory of functional food science to gain a better understanding of the critical amount of bioactive compounds. So as you can see from my presentation, so lots of things, still it's not understandable for which parameter, which dosage gonna be best, and how to deal, for example, if person have a different situation. So it might be LDL is much more, and then proteinuria is increased. So what we have to do, so this is kind of complex. So we have to research more and see what's the best dosage and time to use. And in here, in last one, I'm trying to say that depending on parameters, so we have to decide. So to manage different symptoms and different parameters of disease, you might need different dosage as well as different time period for the effects of bioactive compound. For example, for HDL, we decided that 56 days is optional, but for SOD, it's going to be more than 84 days. For proteinuria, also, we figure out that 84 days we having a very good effect, but we may use even more dosage to come to the best situation. Okay, so that's what I was trying to provide. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and I am ready to have any question you have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martirosyan, for sharing the research insights and the example. Now I think we are open. Any questions from the students? Yeah.
Could like certain functional food components be found in other food that you might be ingesting?
Did you get it, Dr. Martirosyan, or I can?
I hear it, but I'm not very clear if I understand exactly.
Loudly.
Are certain functional food components, like the chemicals in them that bring the benefits, can they also, like, the material you're getting it from, could it be found in other sources as well?
Yeah, certainly. So, for example, in this case, we are speaking about squalene. So, could be found in different areas. So shark, for example, is the best one. So and even more. So that's now scientists trying to synthesize that. But also, we have an excellent resource for plants. You may know. So amaranth, in some place, Dr. Sharma provided my information about me. So you can see that we research amaranth seeds, amaranth oil. Why? Particularly because there's a lots of squalene in that. So especially for people who mostly would like to eat not animal consuming, not from animal resource. So amaranth oil going to be very good. So that's why we have to do a very good research, especially for the group we have here. So you have to be able finding best resources for any bioactive compound which is researched, and we have very good data. Yeah. So last source, I hope that I understood your question. Last source in this case for squalene is olive oil. But if you're gonna ask me, so what are the differences? So shark, so it is marine animal, so it is not allowed, to catch them. But it's almost in liver, whole liver, or is squalene. So it's lots of squalene. Then in amaranth oil, we have so to produce amaranth oil, it's not easy, number one. So you have to get seed, and from seeds, then it's going to be up to from 5 to 10% oil. And in oil, only like, again, up to 8% squalene. So it's becoming a squalene from amaranth oil, very, very expensive. So you have to see, you have to research and get best resource for any bioactive compound in this particular time for squalene also. I hope that I understood correctly your question and answer.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So if someone can still think about a question, so in continuous this, I would say that olive oil is having 1% of squalene, and amaranth having a 10%. But olive oil, so it is less expensive and so much production. So you have to think about that way also. And that's why we're now trying to get one proposal, one grant for researching squalene in olive oil, and jointly working with the scientists from Greece who are working on Mediterranean diet.
I have a few questions, if you don't mind. Like you mentioned, different kind of a dose for different parameters, like for HDL is a 56-day, and for SOD is a more than 84. So when we develop a product, so how can one figure out that what dose he should put into the product, and how you select the carrier? Like for squalene, you mentioned how you will select the best carrier.
Yeah. So at this point, if someone working in kitchen, so it probably is going to be better speaking more practically, it is, they're not going to do this research, right? So best, my recommendation going to be that they have to see what is available in science. So they have to pretty much come into our journals and reading our open access articles and figure out if there is any good research about the bioactive compounds they're looking to. So that's what's going to be, because it is even, could be very, very different research on different parameters. So then the question is very, very difficult question, which one you have to believe. So that's why it should be we recommending that our government going to be more serious on this, and so they have to have a system to approve what is the best one. So if there is some research and someone come up with this special product, so then we can use it. So that's why in Japan, scientists spending lots of money and research, and then food industry spending lots of money also to develop that healthy and functional food. And at the end, government have his seal, so proving that this particular bioactive compound for this particular parameter or a symptom can be used, or this finalized functional food can be used for this particular case. I think I answered on your first part. And second one, so look like that's related to the food vehicle, right? Which way to use? Is it correct?
Yeah, because in product development, so suppose like different product developers come with a different idea, and they say that, okay, we want to develop a buttermilk whey with squalene, and someone can say that, oh, okay, I want to develop maybe a carbonated beverage with squalene, because they know squalene has a benefit, and they want a different niche and different category, and considering all the competition, how someone should select the best carrier? Like everyone knows squalene is a good component, but
yeah, I understand that. That's extremely important question. And as it coming a time to develop products, so then yes, what we're gonna do, where we gonna use, and you know, how that food products that we're choosing gonna affect. So for that reason, number one, in Europe, as I remember, one of my friend who was in commission in there to determine how to use. Even you have a bioactive compound that you think in special dosage going to be useful for certain things, but when you have in a new product, so you're going to put in milk or you're going to put in bread, so then you have to go back and show that in new product, so that's going to be effective. Of course, for general use, if you would like to recommend your friend or your customers that, yeah, squalane is good, yeah, certainly you can say squalane is good, and there's a choice of different oil, and I recommend olive oil because that is available here, and so you know that one certain amount of oil. So then, depending how much you would like to recommend, so then you're gonna accordingly say in 10 milligram, 50 milligram, or whatever amount oil they can consume. But that is also, it is kind of a one other step when you're creating a food vehicle. So that should be some other research on that. And, you know, especially in different countries, so it is going in different nations, going to be very, very different habits, cultural related stuff. So we had one food scientist from African continent, but I don't remember from Cameroon or from which country. So that was actually her project when she gets certified functional food scientist. So we spoke a lot, and at the end we come up to the special article how to create a food vehicle for functional food, and that is published in our journal. I think that's going to be the best one because, like, main idea is also that some food, even we say that in Japan, so it's the best place where they're developing functional food and government, you know, proving. But then that Japanese food could be, for example, for me, not acceptable. I am a originally Armenian person, and I do not eat much seafood, or at least only certain kind. So having that food, if it's made in Japan, in that food vehicle, it might not work for us. Or, for example, French cuisine, you know, it is very, very different from American kitchen, right? So then it might be, if it was created in there, it might not work here. So here, your group, your students have to think about what's going to be the best vehicle, food vehicles that they would like to put. It is going to be nice, people going to like, but also it's not going to have any other effect as you put. And certainly, you know, if we're speaking about squalane, so it's oily stuff. So it will work better if you put in some capsule in oil or simply oily stuff rather than, you know, in other environment. So you have to go from chemical structure also. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Martirosyan. And any other questions from online audience or from class? Just feel free. Any questions? Okay. So thanks, Dr. Martirosyan, for sharing your research and idea and experience. I am really thankful to you, and I will share the presentation and the recording with you sometime tomorrow early morning. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I think it is very nice working with you, and we can collaborate in future. And yeah, certainly this is going to be very helpful to get some feedback from your student if they like, if they have some other question or some request for more particular other things they thinking that they need. So certainly we can collaborate. Thanks so much, and have a very nice evening.
Thank you, Dr. Martirosyan. You too. Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye.